You're not wrong, AJ. Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois going at it, and they could break the British boxing attendance record at Wembley on the 21st of this month, as His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh has said they've now applied to extend the capacity with the aim of surpassing the 94,000 mark who attended Fury, Dillian White. That Simon Jordan and I were there that night. That was something else. Turki Al-Sheikh was a guest on this show yesterday. And a guest on this show now live in studio, it's the chairman of Matchroom and top boxing promoter Eddie Hearn. Mr. Hearn, good morning to you.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Thanks for having me on.
You've come up to the 17th floor of the news building, but you've come up mob-handed. Lights, camera, action. All the boys are here. What's going on? Is it Netflix?
This is Netflix. Recently announced our new show that will be dropping next year with Box to Box. You've seen Drive to Survive. You've seen Full Swing. Now it's our turn. So it's groundbreaking for boxing and for the business as well. I think it's going to be very exciting. We're mic'd up constantly, which is, dangerous in its own sense. And you're going to see everything raw and uncut from the world of Matchroom HQ and the sports that we're involved with. Obviously, from my side, particularly boxing as well.
When it comes to the edit of that, do you have editorial control?
We trust Box to Box, but, you can imagine the conversations that take place, we've got a relationship with them where this is the first of many series planned. So, we'll be working with them to make sure, we don't want to make this is not a promotional vehicle just purely for Matchroom. This is compelling viewing, and this has to be a great product like Drive to Survive. So I approached these guys. When I first saw Drive to Survive, I thought we have to do something like that for boxing, because I feel like, if you enjoyed that, if you enjoyed Full Swing, this is going to be on another level. So raw and uncut, but
raw and uncut.
Yeah,
you're in two minds about that kind of thing, aren't you, Simon? Flying the wall type documentaries.
Yeah, I mean, the ones I've watched ostensibly have been the football ones, all or nothing, and you see scenarios that yourself, that the dynamics of, and you see that the camera is not an aid memoir. It's almost like a gateway for people to behave slightly differently. So I always have my reservations about how much authenticity you get from it in the ones that I've seen, and I have to admit I'm not a massive advocate of them, but I think people are always looking to see insight and looking to see something different, and boxing is a natural space for it, because ultimately you've got this intriguing sport steeped in nobility, ideally, and all the intrigue that goes behind it. So with these guys at Matchroom and what they do, and Eddie's a self-promotionist, and I admire that to some extent. This is a good vehicle for doing it through. And Netflix, I mean, come on, if you can do a series with Netflix, you're securing opportunities for representation in all different spaces.
What's the title? At Home with the Hearns, what are we calling it?
The Greatest Showman.
The Greatest Showman.
It's actually, it's not just, I was quite disappointed, it's not just about me. It's about actually the characters within Matchroom. Obviously, my old man as well. But people like Frank Smith, Emily Fraser, Matt Porter, who have migrated through the business from the ages of 15, 16, 17, now running their own departments. And
making the tea.
Yeah. And, Frank Smith, amazing, 16 years he's been at the business. Right. A young man that came in making teas and delivering pizzas. Now he's a multi-millionaire. So good luck to the boy. He's grafted his socks off.
I mean, Eddie, when you look at it, the 21st of this month, Wembley, a sellout, thousands, 95,000 plus. Of all the fights you put on, where does AJ Dubois rank at this stage? Where might it rank?
I think forget it's two Brits fighting for the world heavyweight title. It's just a great heavyweight matchup. One thing you want in a heavyweight fight is power, speed, form. And these guys have got it all. Like, there is no doubt that this is the most dangerous time to be fighting Daniel Dubois. Coming off Jarrell Miller, which, I think was a credible win, but coming off the Hrgovic win, Dubois is in full flow. And so is AJ. So, you've got a very young guy in Daniel Dubois. It's going to be really interesting to see how he deals with the moment. Because for AJ, these nights are bread and butter. And I know that Dubois has boxed Usyk in Poland, but this is different. Walking out 96,000, the plans that His Excellency has for Fight Week is going to blow your mind. I mean, I don't want to give it away, but it's going to be such a huge moment for Daniel Dubois that you have to be made of the right stuff. all week, the pressure, the build-up, particularly on fight night, the ring walk, the moment.
Yeah.
And I think with Daniel, whatever the game plan is, will probably unravel very quickly, which might make him even more dangerous because he might just go for it. Do you know what I mean? You know, but I think both guys, you know, they have a little bit of history, they know each other, but they're just in form. And when I look back at AJ against Deontay Wilder, we never got that fight, but this actually has similarities. Both guys are massive punchers. Both guys are fast. And both guys have the ability to turn your lights out at any moment.
Do you think Daniel Dubois is world level, Simon?
I think he's beaten Hrgovic. So you have to say he's at world level. I think Eddie makes the most salient point. You saw Dillian Whyte, in my view, shrink under the magnitude of the fight that he had with Fury in terms of the scale of the experience, the level of the fighter that he was fighting against. And it will be an interesting one because I thought Daniel Dubois got phased walking into an empty room against Joe Joyce. And that's a long time back now. And if he can handle the experience, because the scale of 95,000 people, all that goes with it, and in with somebody that knows his way around this. Every time Joshua, and I've been a critic of Anthony Joshua's, but watching him walk into a ring, the auditorium goes up, the expectation level goes up exponentially. So him being able to handle that pressure and manage himself through it, sometimes he has, sometimes he hasn't, but most of the time he has, is a massive, massive difference that Dubois hasn't experienced. So my tip is Anthony Joshua to win this fight, but I think it's such a fascinating fight because both of them can really whack. I do still think that despite the rehabilitation of Anthony, from not just my thought processes, more knowledgeable people that have spoken about the feelings that maybe the lights had gone out, that he wasn't prepared to go into the dark places, and the fights that he's had, he hasn't had to yet. The question for me, and I made an observation about it, which Eddie's commented on previously about the PTSD situation, is
what did you say there?
When he does get whacked, is he going to go where he needs to go to do things like he did against Klitschko, which was go to a very dark place, pick himself off the floor, and have the absolute resolve? I don't think that question's been answered or asked yet, and it may get asked by Daniel Dubois, and then only then you'll know if he's the Anthony Joshua prior to Ruiz and Usyk.
Previous PTSD comments. In other words, can Anthony take one on the chin from Dubois and crack on, or does he hit the canvas and it's good night, lights out? Did you think there was relevance in what Simon raised?
No, I think, you know, people always look to debate a heavyweight's chin or their resolve. I actually think Joshua has a good chin. You know, I think when we look back, it's only really the Andy Ruiz fight, which, you know, he didn't have the best preparation. It was 3 weeks out, but he got hit on the top of the head and he never really recovered. Went down, got up about 4 or 5 times, got beat that night. He took quite a decent shellacking off Usyk in the first fight, and particularly in the latter stages of that fight. If you look at the Usyk-Tyson Fury fight, Fury was completely on his feet. I mean, buzzed, rocked, gone.
Yeah.
AJ took everything from Usyk in that fight. Was never out on his feet, was tired towards the end of the fight. But, you know, I actually think he has a good chin. It doesn't really matter how good your chin is. When you get hit, I think Dubois got a good chin, by the way. You know, if you look at the Hrgovic fight, and I don't think Hrgovic physically looked a specimen in that fight, but he's definitely a world-class heavyweight. He hit Dubois with everything and didn't really hurt him in that fight. And I think the way that Dubois has lost in the past, and I don't like to say it because I think all of these guys are incredibly brave, he quit. He quit against Joyce and he quit against Usyk, right? But he never got hurt. You know, like if you look at the knockout against Usyk, it was, you know, he went down, it was a stiff jab, he took a knee and didn't really fancy getting up.
But some would make the accusation that Anthony Joshua did the same thing in the Ruiz fight. And it's not about, I'm not suggesting that he can't take a punch. I think the accusation was that Anthony doesn't let his hands go now and he doesn't want to put himself in range. And that was what was being said to me by, I'll say Carl Froch, you'll say, well, there's rancor there. And other people, not just, you know, Froch or Barry McGuigan and other people. The general perception was maybe he hasn't got the fire left him anymore. He's a very successful man. He's made a lot of money. And the business that you guys are in puts you in a way of danger and hurt. And in order to want to do that to the level to win a world title, does Joshua still have the fire? Yeah. And I don't think those questions have been answered by fighting Franklin, Helenius, Wallin and Ngannou. I think he's done a great job. No criticism implied. I think there may be a different challenge in front of him with Dubois, and only then will the full rehabilitation of Anthony Joshua be answered that, hang on, he still wants it as badly as he did once upon a time.
Yeah,
that's the question.
I get that. I think you have to show that in the ring, but I think the fact that, I know he wants it more than ever. He wants to win this fight so desperately, and the stage that he's at in his life, the financial stage, the fact that he's there, putting himself in the hard spars time and time again. Like he has a big desire. I think the difference between AJ, when AJ's firing, he understands the assignment, the game plan, the strategy. And when I look at Ben Davison and Lee Wiley, they've done such a good job, because he's been lost in fights before. When he was trying to get his corner right and his training team, the Usyk fight, particularly the first fight, he never really could input that data
but
of what he had to do.
But he did quit against Ruiz, though, didn't he?
No, I don't think so. Absolutely not. He kept getting up.
But he quit no more than Daniel Dubois. Daniel Dubois had a shattered orbital bone.
No, but did he?
Well, medical history says he does.
Really? What medical history?
Well, coming out of his camp.
Okay. Well,
I mean, I'm not privy to it any more than you are.
No,
but the point is, again, that's what was said.
When you quit, Simon, you take a knee, you look at the referee in the eye, and he says 8, 9, 10.
So what did Anthony do against Ruiz?
He got up every time, got up 4 times.
Yeah, but he stood in the corner being asked a question by the referee and he got waved off.
He went back to his corner and he was trying to get time, and the ref looked at him and said, "You've been down 4 times, the fight's over." He had multiple opportunities to not get to his feet in that fight. And when you get to your feet, time and time again, after 4 knockdowns, the last thing you're doing is quitting. Daniel Dubois...
Do you think he quit against Usyk, Daniel Dubois?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, by the way, I don't blame him.
I'm asking you.
Yeah. I don't blame him. I think all these guys are incredibly tough.
Yeah.
But when he wasn't hurt badly in that fight. He got hit by a stiff jab. Things were getting on top. The referee... He was on his knee looking at the referee.
No, I think he quit against Usyk.
When they look you in the eye
agree with you.
and say 8, 9, 10, and then you get up, that's different.
Yes.
And it's very different to the Ruiz fight. But
I have to say, I'd quit at 1.
So would I don't blame these people.
We're going to talk about the undercard, which is fantastic to say the least of it, and the event itself. Stay with us. Eddie Hearn, live in studio.
On AM, on DAB, via the TalkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. TalkSPORT.